Hey guys, today we're going to cover food, mood, nutrients, and weight loss because I think they're really important topics to help inspire you to eat super healthy throughout the year and aim for that healthy body weight. Something you may not know, but I weighed over 100 kilos in 2001 and I lost 30 kilos in just over 6 months and kept it off ever since, even through 2 pregnancies. I learned how to lose weight over that time, and while I was studying nutrition at uni, we also read quite a few studies on how nutrition knowledge can help you to maintain a healthy body weight. So because of this, you'll notice a lot of my programs focus on the education side of things, and I hope today's presentation helps you understand a little more about how adequate nutrition helps improve our life and contributes to weight loss. So today we'll go over how to get your diet right. We'll talk about food groups and macros and what that all looks like on your plate. Okay, so healthy eating can be defined as consuming a wide variety of healthy foods from all the food groups in the right portions for your lifestyle. Healthy eating provides adequate nutrients your body needs to get into that fat burning mode and become more metabolically healthy, to build muscle for a strong and stable body, to balance hormones to prevent blood sugar crashes and mood fluctuations, and create energy so we can achieve everything that we set out to do. The key nutrients we want to make sure we consume are protein, carbohydrates, and fats. These are our macronutrients, and vitamins and minerals, which are and antioxidants, which are our micronutrients. So when we eat healthy and live a healthy lifestyle, we're getting those adequate nutrients so we can successfully burn fat, build muscle, balance hormones, and create energy. The flow-on effect from this is that our mind is clearer, we have less inflammation, we have less fatigue, and we feel happier. And because our body is feeling great, we start to gain motivation back, we can get fitter and build muscle, we feel more confident, and we're more likely to do the things we love and feel good in our body again. And then, of course, this results in a higher self-esteem, and we're more likely to love ourselves and take better care of our body, which helps us to lose weight as well. So as you can see, there's a feel-good flow that comes from getting your nutrition back on track, where those important nutrients that our body needs to function properly leads to better mental function, less inflammation, less fatigue, more energy, more motivation, and then a higher self-esteem, which actually then makes us want to take care of ourselves a little more. The other side to this is the negative effects of inadequate nutrients, which I'm sure we've all felt before. Things such as brain fog, inflammation, fatigue, and just a general lack of motivation. This leads to decreased self-esteem, which leads to us being potentially more harsh on ourselves and then take less care of our body, which then also increases our risk of chronic disease. So as you can see, there are so many benefits from eating well. We just need to find a way to structure our lifestyles so that we can. We need to make time for health. We need to make most of our meals at home. We need to get our exercise in. We need to reduce those things such as sweets and alcohol so they don't replace the good foods in our diet that contain the nutrients that we need to be getting. So let's aim to eat clean and live a healthy lifestyle so that we can get the nutrients we need to increase our self-esteem and do the things we love and take good care of our body. And then hopefully we can inspire others to do the same as well. Because if you can get more people around you to live healthy, it makes it so much easier for us to maintain as well. So let's look at how to get adequate nutrients and get this feel-good flow happening. There's lots of research that's been done on what nutrients the human body requires and how much of each that we need. So I'm going to show you what the average healthy Australian adult should be getting each day to hit their nutritional targets. So to estimate if we're getting the right amount of nutrients, we can either use food groups, which is nice and easy for most people to use, Or we could track what we eat, either mentally or in a tracking app, using macronutrient proportions, which is more reserved for those wanting a more accurate and targeted approach. So if you're super busy, I recommend becoming familiar with the 5 food groups and just being mindful of the nutrients you're eating each day. So let's start with food groups. All of our food can be categorized into one of the 5 food groups. So here I'm using the Australian Guide to Healthy Eating. The 5 food groups that you can see to the right here are fruits, vegetables, dairy products and alternatives, lean meats and alternatives, and grain products. There are 2 other food groups that you can see at the bottom of the Australian Guide to Healthy Eating, just on the left there, which are fats and oils and discretionary products. Each food group contains similar nutrients. So, for example, fruits are carbohydrates and they contain a high amount of vitamin C and fiber, whereas lean meats contain protein, iron, zinc, and the B vitamins. There are daily serving recommendations, which you can see in the table to the right, which are fairly similar between men and women aged 19 to 50. However, men require 1 extra serving of vegetables and a half of a serving more of lean meats. This is a great guide to use. However, you just need to be mindful that these recommendations apply to the average Australian doing 5 to 6 days of moderate intensity activity each week. So a fairly active person who also doesn't have a very high stress load. If you're someone who doesn't do this much activity, you're not going to need this many carbs. And when it comes to protein, studies have shown that people on a weight loss program can benefit from more protein than is recommended here. So we want to consider a slightly higher intake of food from our lean meats group and a little less from the grains group. You may be wondering what a serving size looks like. As you can see here in the table to the right, there are standard serving sizes, which I recommend becoming familiar with, as this makes it a lot easier to visualize how much food you should be eating each day. This information is really easy to learn. You could have this print out on your fridge, and after a week, you would have worked it out for sure. So let's briefly talk about the discretionary products. These are the foods that cause the issue within our body, and we want to limit them as much as possible. Too much of these foods lead to inadequate nutrients, weight gain, and then sickness. Now let's look at our macronutrients. Our 3 macronutrients are proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. All foods contain 1, 2, or 3 of the macronutrients, and each have a specific purpose within the body. So firstly, we have protein, which is used by the body to build things. This includes hormones, muscles, and enzymes. And our proteins can be found in meats, plant foods, dairy, and eggs. Protein provides that feeling of satisfaction and contentment at your mealtime. If you have a look to the right, protein is the main component of our lean meats and dairy foods group. Next, we have fat, which is used for energy and also to make some hormones and also our cells. Excess fat is stored as fat. Fat, when we eat them in our meals, suppresses the feeling of hunger between your meals. Fat is found in fats, oils, meats, nuts, seeds, avocado, and coconut. And as you can see to the right here, within our food groups, it can be found in the lean meats, oils, and discretionary products. And then lastly, we have our carbohydrates, which is also used for energy, and excess carbs are stored as fat. Carbs can be found in fruits, vegetables, cereals, and grains, and also in discretionary products. So if you start thinking in terms of macronutrients, you can start to see which of each is in our foods. For example, yogurt contains both carbs, which is the milk sugars, and protein. And full-fat yogurt also contains fat as well. This is also quite an easy concept to grasp if you spend a bit of time, maybe a week or so, looking at the food you eat in this way. If you start doing this, you'll start to get the hang of it really quickly. So we'll briefly discuss macronutrient splits. Everyone is different, and we all have different lifestyles that at times require slightly different macronutrient splits. For example, when you're younger, you may need slightly more carbohydrates, and when you're older, you may need slightly less. But the main thing here to consider is that if you're doing less activity, you need less carbs. And if you're doing an extreme amount of activity, you probably need a little more carbs to ensure you have a lot more energy. Otherwise, diets such as low carb, high fat may be unsustainable unless you really need it for a therapeutic reason, or you really like it and you prefer that way of eating. So just keep in mind, both carbs and fats provide energy. So of course, if one is up, the other needs to be down. And if one is down, the other needs to be up. Or they just need to be in balance. Eating too much fats and carbs will lead to weight gain. So let's look at what this looks like on your plate. As we discussed before, to structure your meals, you can use either food groups or macronutrients or both. So I often have a look at my day and I make sure I have enough of each food group to satisfy my nutritional needs. So 5 vegetables, 2 fruits, a few servings of dairy, enough carbs for how much activity I'm doing that day, and then at least a serving of protein in each meal. I add fats to all my meals, but only around a serving each time, and that's to suppress that feeling of hunger between my meals. Overall, this gives me a fairly balanced macronutrient breakdown. So when it comes to breakfast, just make sure you focus on your protein, as studies have shown that having an adequate amount of protein at breakfast can suppress the afternoon cravings. If we're active and have a high stress load, we also want to make sure that we have a serving of carbs and a serving of fats. So take a minute to visualize what this looks like. It may be some overnight oats with a scoop of protein in there to get that protein serving, and a teaspoon of coconut oil or a few nuts. It might also be a piece of sourdough with an egg or 2 eggs and a small amount of butter or avocado spread underneath. Let's look at our lunches. This is where we start to get into our vegetables. We always want to have a serving of dark leafy greens each day, as they contain the important nutrient folate, which helps us to produce energy, helps iron work properly within our body, and also helps with brain function. So make sure this is either in your lunch or in your dinner. And dark leafy greens may look like rocket or bok choy or any form of lettuce, and the darker the better. Then we just tick off the other macros. So we get a serving of protein and a serving of carbs and a serving of fat. To get even more nutrients, which if we have a stressful and busy life, we definitely want to be doing, we should add some herbs, maybe some coriander, and just a sprinkle of seeds and quality mineral salt. Top this with some probiotics such as sauerkraut to help with gut health. Always aim to get colour and variety throughout the week as well. This doesn't mean you need to buy 6 different salad veggies each week and throw half of them away. Just try and pick like 3 different ones each time you go shopping. Use those up, and then each time pick different ones and get variety that way. It also doesn't mean you need to just have a salad with rice. You can get creative and alternate your carbs, maybe using pasta or roasted vegetables. Or you could have sourdough instead, and you could make a burger. Or you could have roast veggie medley with some chickpeas, or a chicken and avocado wrap. Our dinner is going to look very similar to our lunch. Again, we're ticking off the macros, protein, carbs, and fat, and adding extra nutrients such as herbs and spices, and we're getting variety that way as much as possible. This is where recipes that have been balanced and are low calorie come in handy. So when we're looking at recipes, aim for like 500 calories or less per serve, and make sure they have a good protein serve in there, a good vegetable amount, or just add your extra veggies. And then just a smaller carbohydrate serve yourself up less carbohydrates. So the things to remember when we're aiming to eat healthy, balance our macronutrients and tick off all the food groups to get adequate nutrients is eat lots of coloured vegetables with at least a serving of leafy greens each day. Aim to get our protein in each meal. Eat quality healthy carbs such as whole grains. Around half a cup to 1 cup is good for moderately active women, 19 to 50. And then limit those refined carbs, such as the discretionary products. And always have a small serve of fats at each meal, just to make sure that our hunger is kept at bay between our meals and that we're getting a bit of fat in our diet as well, because fat is healthy for us. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up so I know that you watched it all the way to the end. If you need further advice about nutrition, please reach out. You can find me on Facebook or Instagram under Jules Stevens Nutrition, and we can book you in for a chat.